In this part, we're going to talk about lighting in a Fstorm renderer, and I am going to start with sunlight, and hopefully we can discover all the lighting and all the possibilities with the lighting and everything in the renderer. So I'm gonna, before I draw a, just gonna hide the exterior for now. Maybe this plane here, I am just gonna convert it to scene as a box. This one, I don't know what is those, just gonna delete them. I have one sunlight here, which I will keep it. So I draw my sunlight, and the first thing you want to notice is that you cannot freely move your sunlight around, and that's because the sunlight is not targeted. And in order to have a freedom to move the sun around, you just have to turn on a target, and you can position your sun the way you want. But before I describe that, I wanted to talk quickly about this hour, month, latitude, and north direction. Basically, when the target is not on, the sun direction and the sun angle is going to take from these numbers. And hour and month are clear what they are. Latitude is the latitude of the place, and north direction is where the north direction is. You put the north direction correct, and then you put your latitude, and then you have your correct sun position. In a lot of project, developers, architects, they want to have sun in a correct position because, for example, if the apartment is not getting that much sun, and you show something that is like really sunny, and if they sell it, it's going to be a problem later. So simple as that. And in order to get the latitude, you just have to right click on the Google map. When you right click on the position of your building, the first number is your latitude. And the north direction, it depends on how you model. For example, let's say the windows are facing north. So I have to, I think towards minus, I have to rotate my north direction minus 90. So this is my north direction. And then I put the latitude, for example, I know for Berlin is 52. And the month, let's say we have August. And yeah, for example, it's like 18 is like almost sunset. Yeah, but you can see the sun direction. It's basically this apartment. In this situation, it doesn't get any sunlight, any direct line of sunlight in. Yeah. Whereas if the north direction was opposite, let's say if it was 90 degree, which means the north is in that direction. You can see here. And playing the hour time, we would have had more sunlight in. So I'm just going to put it on 12, 13, or I'm just going to disable it. Yeah, we don't need it for now. Just going to put the sun somewhere here so we have a little bit of sunlight coming in. I just move them to, I just position them here towards the window so I know what is the direction. Yeah, for this, we don't need to have like exact sunlight. And again, I start to quickly describe each button, each option, each parameter. Power is the power, how much intensity the sunlight has. Size is the size of the sun. The higher number are going to give us softer shadows, and the 1 is like simulating a real sun size. And then in the mood, we have physical and we have legacy. And so legacy is the old Fstorm sun, which I'm not using anymore, and I suggest to use physical. And one thing you have to take into consideration is that sunlight is better. You can pair sunlight with HDRIs, but it's always better when you pair the sunlight with a Fstorm sky. So I'm just gonna open my HDRI, my environment, and from the last episode, I just want to show you something. In the real project, what I would do if I want to have the Fstorm sky, if I want to have Fstorm sky, I would again add another color correction here, and then add another sky. and then connect the sky to color correction, and then connect it here. So basically, the HDRI is here. Nothing. We're not gonna touch anything here in the environment. If I want to make it stronger, I'm just gonna come here, and one thing I also wanted to mention is that in previous episodes I talked about how I manage the HDRI in my scene, and I said I add a different color corrections for each HDRI. So to know if I change anything on the color correction, if I change the color of the HDRI, so it happens separately here, and then I connect it to the color correction, which looks somehow maybe too crazy to have like two color correction connected to each other, but it's just how I work. One thing I wanted to mention, you can just skip the color correction here map and just use this color correction. But yeah, a lot of time I just use the color correction because I would like to see in one glance what's going on with the lighting and everything. And it's always helpful if you hand this in to another artist. So when they look at the materials and lighting, they understand what's going on. That's just, but this is like really, really good option to have, especially with the when you make the materials, because sometimes you have the material, but you want to change it. You want to quickly see if you change, for example, saturation, how it's going to look. In the past, you had to add the color correction map and then connect the color correction map to your node system, and it was time consuming. But for quick test, this is like it's really perfect. So I keep the multiply on 1, and yeah, so if you go to the setting, there is like a color and some number which says this setting makes sense only if some model is set to legacy. So since we don't use legacy, we don't have anything to do. We use just the physical. And then sky color is of course the color of the sky, which I found this yellow tone is a bit too much. I would just desaturate it like half a lot of time. I mean, sometimes I just completely desaturate it to get like completely white color, but like if I think this is a bit too yellow, half or even lower than half. And then the horizon color is the color you see on the horizon. It doesn't really affect the lighting, especially for the interior. So the next parts are density and turbidity. I think the best example would be what you see here on the website. So turbidity works as if there is dust in the air or pollution, or the sky is not clear. You can see from here, like the higher number made the sky less clear. The lower number, it just makes like sky more visible. And yeah, I think we can just, yeah, I don't think it's really visible, but maybe if I go on the higher number, we will see, yeah, we would see we see a shifting in the sky tone, and from blue, which was this one, it shifted to the warmer color. And usually if I want to have a warmer tone with the sky, I mean, you can change the sky color, but I would prefer to keep the sky color in blue tone, and then like very desaturated blue tone, not the one we had in the beginning, and then increase the density and the turbidity. And for the density, you can hear the higher number you get, the denser the sky is, and the sunlight tone is warmer. So if you want to show you, like, you see them, you can feel that the sunlight is getting let me bring more sunlight inside. That helps like that. And I think okay, yeah, I wanted to turn off the environment, but it doesn't really matter. So you can see the higher we go, the warmer the sunlight is, and you can feel that the sun is getting weaker. And it's just because the sky is more dense, so the less sunlight is coming in. So yeah, I don't want to give like one recipe that says, okay, if you want warmer tone, you just change this number. If you want colder tone or whatever, you just change this number. But this is like how you experiment with it. For example, if I want to make some sort of warm overcast lighting, I would just lower this number, put it on 3, and then the size as well. Yeah, it can get like it can go a bit crazy also with the size. So it somehow like looks like overcast, but with the sunlight. But the shadows are so soft they look like overcast. But yeah, I don't want to spend too much on it. And include is clear what it does. It's just exclude object or include object into the lighting. Visible is visibility of the sun on the render. Affect diffuse is affecting on the diffuse. Affect glossiness is just gonna remove the effect on the glossiness. And the rest we talked about. So that's it for the sunlight. I'm just gonna yeah, and for targets, one thing I just wanted to mention, if you move the sunlight lower, let me just push it like somewhere here. If you move it lower towards the horizon, it's just gonna simulate the sunset effect. See, it just automatically is going to yeah. I just want to have it like a little bit on the wall. So I talked about all of this, but like another way is just to change your sun position to get the different kind of lighting, a different kind of mood in your scene. And I think I have my denoiser off. I want to turn it on for this because why not? Get like a yeah. And if I move it up, you see that the color of the sky is changing based on the position of that. So this is also something really important to keep in mind. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for the sunlight. Hopefully I covered everything. After sunlight, we have Fstorm light, which are again, we have different shapes. We have plane, disk, sphere, and then we have IES geometry, which is for loading IES files for a spotlight. Okay, for the Fstorm light, I thought I disable all the lighting in the scene, and I decided just to put a plain light here inside and just to go through each section one by one. So again, starting from here, it just enables and disables the light. Visibility here makes the light visible for GI, and cast shadows is enables and disables the shadow casting option from the light, and targeted as target the light. You can see it over here. Again, double side is pretty clear. Affect diffuse is just going to remove all the diffuse effect, just going to have it on the glossiness, and then again vice versa. If you have it on glossiness disabled, it's just going to affect the diffuse. You can see all the reflection and glossiness are gone. The next three parts are target distance and the sizes, which are pretty clear. These are for size. Let me just make them, or maybe make them a bit smaller, 30. And the next one is the shape. We have plane, we have disk, and we have a sphere. Depending on the need, we need to adjust them, but I'm just going to leave it for plane at the moment. And then we have a material ID, which is a material ID of the light, which works with the multi-texture. For example, if I assign this multi-texture to here, to the texture, and then turn it on, and yeah, if I put the material ID on number 2, you see it's going to take in the color from number 2, and then 3 is going to take in from number 3. So it has its own usage. And that's what for material ID. Power is, I think the most important part is the power. And then color is the color of the light. Temperature, we can put the temperature, the higher number, the colder it's gonna be. Texture is just what we used. We can have a different texture, either everything, even bitmap. I'm just gonna, we can even have a noise texture, everything basically. And so the next part is directional. If I show it to you, when I turn on the directional light, you see these line around the light. And let me just turn the light towards the, like, yeah, I just wanna make it like something like this. I mean, this is it. This is the best example of how to make the camera flashlight lighting. Just gonna put it like somewhere here. I mean, okay, that was not the goal of the class, but like a recording, but who cares? And then I'm not gonna make it invisible. I'm gonna keep it visible, but then I'm gonna keep it, yeah. I'm gonna make the size a bit smaller for this purpose. So the directional, when I turn it off, you can see the light is more spreaded, and when I turn it on, is more towards the center. And I think when I lower the number, you see the lines are getting more towards the center, so the light is getting more like a spotlight, getting more directional. I think that's the best way to describe it. The directional fall off is the fall off between like how directed, how spotlight, that like the effect of a spotlight. So the higher number is going to make the edges around the light more brighter. If I put it on 2, you're going to see how it works. And yeah, I think depending on your need. And just to make the, I think for this kind of purpose, I think number 1 would be okay. And then yeah, if I add, and there's like opacity, which is again the opacity of the light. And if I add a noise map, I don't know if you're gonna really see it here. It's not really noticeable in this case, but I'm sure if I select the light and go to the viewport, from here we're gonna see, yeah, you see the noise pattern on the light. And yeah, it's just simple as that, right? And yeah, basically that's for the Fstorm light. I mean, include, exclude is also the same. You can pick the object. Now the chair is excluded. I'm switching to include. Everything is excluded and the chair is included. And yeah, and the next lighting we have is Fstorm light material. And then we have one Fstorm emission, which is a, I'm gonna select my chair, and then what I'm going to do, because I don't want to delete the original material, I'm going to add a Fstorm switch material. I'm going to make this one as a main material. I'm going to hit here, and then I'm going to start with the normal emission. And here I'm going to say use material 2, which is this one. And then when you turn on emission, your object becomes light source. I'm going to add some crazy color, and then power, we're going to put it on 1. So we can see the object turning into a light source. I mean, yeah, this is basically it. I don't have much to say. I mean, I can't switch the other parts, I think that might look a bit more interesting. And yeah, we can have it for backside, turning on the backside, or we can include it into the light lister. And again, we have the option to include and exclude object to this. It's really working like a light material, like a light source. Fstorm light material, here we have a little bit more options. We can add IES file, and but just the general options are the same. Power, color, include, exclude, temperature, map, and yeah, we can have a cast shadow here, and the rest are the same as the normal lighting. Opacity is the same. Again, we have the directional option here, and also ID channel as well. So we talked about pretty much all the lights in Fstorm. One light left behind is the portal lights, which are basically similar to light material. We load the portal light here. Materials, Fstorm portal, and then we apply it to the plane. And one thing we have to notice, first of all, the plane has to be outside behind the window. And here you see I have a small size window. I made the portal like fitting to the glass, but I don't think it's necessary. You can just have one plane here, and that's gonna work 100%. So I think this is just a bit overkill, but yeah, it is what it is, not a big issue. Yeah, I'm just gonna grab a material from here, and yeah, I have the power on 5, and it's just not only working as a light source to brighten the scene, it helps with the render calculation, and it just, if I wanna describe it like simply, to my knowledge, is like adding samples to the interior where the calculation is hard for the engine. It helps the engine to calculate the interior lighting much faster and much easier. And one thing you have to notice is that the normal phase has to be towards inside. That's the most important part, because yeah, that's where the lighting is going. And also it takes the light from environment and pushes to the interior, to inside. And pretty much for all the scenes, especially in this kind of scene where I have kind of a small opening, like for example, in this area, it's hard for the HDRI to brighten this kind of area, and it's below the portal is just gonna take much longer. So yeah, but usually I put the value power multiply on 1. 5 is a bit too much, but it's just somehow working in this file, so in this scene, so I'm not gonna complain. And yeah, let me just fire my RT. I'm gonna talk about light mix. So I'm gonna turn on all the lightings we have, and I changed the names already. And just gonna check if there is anything include or excluded, and turn on this one. For setting up the light mix, we need to add, first of all, light mix, and then we have to select our lights and add selected, generate name, light select, add selected, generate name. We can have another light select, and then we need one for environment as well, sorry. And then we need one for the rest, generate name. And so in here, when we open our light mix setup, you can see we have this beauty element and we have this light mix element, which of course it doesn't have the glare and bloom. Okay, let's try to make the flashlight scene again, like camera flash scene again. So first thing first, we decrease the environment. I think if you want to make it completely off, you have to make it black. Yeah. And then the softbox, I think, again, if you want to make it off, you have to, but I'm not going to make it off. I'm just going to lower the value, like, yeah. And then we have this camera flashlight. which I think I need to increase it like some crazy number, like so. And then the rest is gonna be these light materials. Yeah. So now if I switch between light mix and beauty element, you can see the beauty element has the effect, the lighting we had, and the light mix is the new lighting. Yeah, we can either save it like this, or we can apply the numbers to our beauty element. It's going to be like, if I apply, asking you, it's going to modify some emissions on some lighting and some material, which are these ones. We agree, and then we go to the beauty element, and then we have the lighting here. I usually don't use light mix, and it's a great feature, but yeah, if the scene is like complicated and there is a lot of light, yeah, light mix is really useful. But for the simple interiors and stuff, I think you don't really need to use light mix. And what I usually prefer to use instead of light mix is that, let me just close the light mix. I like this scene lister, and you have light materials, you have portals, you have light source and sunlight. And the difference is that, of course, whatever you change here is going to apply to your beauty element. I mean, that's the main difference between this and the light mix. Light mix, you can experiment and change stuff without really changing the main setup of your scene. That's a big benefit. But if you don't care about that, you can just change stuff here. Because, for example, here you can even change the directional, for example, like power, like everything you need. And but again, you want to see it directly on your beauty element, which is not a bad thing, to be honest. And basically, yeah, about the lighting, basically, that's it. That's all about the lighting. And yeah, if you have any question, any feedback, I am more than happy to hear that. And thank you very much, and have a nice day.